attract, communicate, connect, confidence. And for this, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Subhasri Sriram. Giving a brief introduction, she has over 3 decades of professional experience, including 25 plus years in Sriram Group's financial services business. In this period, over 18 years, she has held the position of CFO in public listed companies with diversified shareholding. She has handled many critical assignments related to implementing new organization structures, improving business processes, raising several rounds of equity and marquee investor across global, and raising external commercial borrowings. With this, please welcome Ms. Subhasri with a huge round of applause.
Good afternoon all. When I was speaking to Mr. Bhaskar yesterday, I said, what made you get the guts to accept this invitation? So I thought when they must have been asking you this, he must have been in the midst of this whole inauguration, and I hats off to him, and I'm mighty impressed, and the end result of all his work is what we see in the airport. So this proof of the pudding, you have just seen it. And I think whole sessions, I was there only the later part of the day, just make me feel very humbled. And I think when they say 3 decades, just indicating my age. So I should henceforth reduce my years of service, not to disclose my age. So carrying the coal to the Newcastle. So there's all finance professionals here. I want of anything else, if my speech can't be interesting, at least my title can be very interesting. I can do at least that. It's connect, communicate, and confidence. And this too is stolen. I think it was their idea, not mine. I just picked up a very catchy title. I have a very personal experience. A finance head in a finance company, just imagine how it is. The peon of the company knows he knows the interest. My call center person knows he understands business because he is doing transaction. And you have to understand this is about 2 decades back. We didn't have credit engines. We didn't have automated credit underwriting process. We did not have collection analytical tools. So the executives did all the finance decisions. And I was the finance head in a whole company, continued believing that they were the finance professionals. Now, it's a continuous challenge for me to explain to them there is something more than what they're doing, I'm actually doing it, and therefore I'm earning my salary. And they have to pay my salary. And to pay my salary, my team has to earn, because I'm not earning. So it's a very interesting, continuous 30 years of trying to communicate to people, to an audience who believe they know it all. So to that extent, I can say finance from a finance company is slightly more different than anything else, because manufacturing companies or service industries, tech companies, there are domain specialists, and you are a domain specialist in your world. Here there is no domain specialist. Everybody is a domain specialist. Everybody is an SME, subject matter expert. So I go into a meeting room and said, I'm going to do pricing. Everybody in the company knows he knows about pricing. He knows about market. He knows about competition. He knows about interest rate. He knows about GDP. He knows everything. Now I have to carry, so it's 2 bits of my experience. And this is the way my journey has been. So many of this is my personal experience. When I started, the first job you do is budgeting. The biggest milestone of a finance professional is to get his accounts audited. Not anymore. Okay, it's done by some team which not even, we probably see it 2 days before the auditor and then 1 day before the board meeting complete. It's an ongoing reporting, not those days. So traditional CFO is budgeting, financial reporting, statutory compliance. Now tell me which department does not have a compliance today? The days where only finance thought they were the compliant team. Today, every department has got its own measures of compliance. So it is again, it's a routine matter of things which you have to do. And it is not, what you don't do is what is getting reported and not what you are doing. So these are things which are now taken for granted that you are doing it. Now, what does the CFO bring to the table? It is what others are not doing and you do it extraordinary or do it with specialization. So this is looking beyond finance, so very interesting. Finance, I think earlier speaker was speaking about, I think he was saying that you have to have the diversity to attract talent from outside, right? You brought it up. This is exactly what we're seeing. Today, I think Infosys was the first company which you had the CFO and CEO did change of roles way back 25 years ago. I think Nandan and Gopalakrishnan, I think they did a change of role between one being a CFO, the other was a COO. I think they did a change of role. So looking beyond finance, there's going to be a time regulator will say we don't need chartered accountants to do finance anymore because that's all automated. It's like lawyers, you don't need to be studying law. You have enough apps available for legal. Doctors, you have Google anyway teaching you medicine. You don't need to go to doctors. So you might have even finance teaching. Google will teach you finance as well. Now you have to go beyond that. Digital awareness. That's the survival of the fittest today. If I don't speak about digital today in this meeting, I can't go out. I'm sure Happy will catch me, hold me here itself. So digital is a matter of survival again. Catalyst for business transformation, because business is what is survival, and what we started off is not what we're going to be 10 years later, and we will never be anything close to what we started off 20 years later. It has complete transformation. Manage internal, external stakeholders. You don't have to be a listed company. We have enough regulatory override. We have employees, we have vendors, and obviously added to the GST angle to it. So what is the evolving role of the CFO? Change agent, a financial controller to a business strategist. From bookkeeping to forward thinking. Budget to value creation. They don't want to tell you what you do, what you will do, but what you will create. Financial reporting to business analytics. I'm sure it's music to Happy. Treasurer to brand custodian. Because what you do in terms of what Mr. Bhaskar talked about, it is, end of the day, it is your brand which is at risk. The ALM or treasury risk is a minute it fails. What is happening? It is a brand value which is getting at risk. You are holding the entire treasury risk to a brand. So it is no more a treasury issue, it's a brand. Commercially savvy to digitally savvy. Commercially savvy, as I said, everybody is, today knowledge is enough and more, and everybody is commercially understand the business, but it is the digital which is the new age thinking. Financial manager to internal external relationship manager, I just mentioned. I think he mentioned here again, the internal stakeholder are as much more important for a CFO than just the external stakeholders. Traditional CFOs were all the time worried about their shareholder, their board, their bankers. Today, if you have to be successful with your external stakeholders, it's very important for the CFO to be very successful with the internal stakeholders. You're out because there are enough more and available. If you don't get a buy-in from your internal stakeholders, you're not going to be successful with the external stakeholders. I used to say in my early days of career when I was, not that I'm not today, in my earlier days of career being arrogant, quote unquote, I used to say I'm not here for a popularity contest. You don't like it, I don't care about it, but there's a way to do it. It is compliance, this is law, this is rule. As I matured, 30 years, I realized that if I do not get them, convince them, talk to them, get them to agree, it is not going to happen. Mahatma Gandhi taught us non-violence, non-conformist. Our employees will practice consistently. Nobody will violate, no more we have strikes, no more the protest, but work will not deliver as it want. And whose head is on the block? So first, his CEO will survive because board has a soft corner. The most gullible head which is on the block is the CFO. So this is something, as I said at the beginning, much of it is my experience. So you need the internal stakeholder buy-in to be a successful CFO and a successful or performing with the external stakeholders. So simple, straightforward, what is today's mantra? Propel, strengthen, transform, collaborate, and sustain and survive. That is what it is today. Financial awareness, cost control, people, process technology, every name it, you have a touch today. Sometimes well, as a women CFO, I also call myself as an agony aunt, because everybody's problem lands on your desk. Then you decide what to filter, what to solve, what not to solve, what to digest, what to swallow, what to throw out. How to meet these demands? That's my topic. If you have forgotten in the last 5 minutes. Everything is in my experience. A long journey in an old-fashioned, homegrown NBFC to a new age, India's largest NBFC. By the way, Sriram today completes its merger. It's in the verge of doing its final leg, and we will be the India's largest non-banking finance company in this space. So it's been a tiniest, and Sriram, by the way, is a non-industrial house-backed NBFC. We don't have the Mahindras or the Bajaj or the 𝗕𝗚𝗏𝗂𝗏s or the TVS group backing, name it all, or the bank for the matter. We are a non-bank. It's very interesting. Have you ever thought of saying that you are not so-and-so? That's a lack of creativity for NBFCs. We are not even, they don't even have the time to name us. So they've said you are not a bank, that's all, that is our name. We are so redundant and we survive. So you can realize how tough a battle to survive and be the largest NBFC today in space where your regulator does not even want you to be there. And you try to survive over and above that. It is an unwanted child. You should be there, not to be seen, heard, but exist. Provide finance to the underserved, but never come up on the stage. Because that credit is only to the bank, because that's our child. This is an unwanted child. So do not work in silos. I don't have to elaborate. Because if you're in silos, I already told you. I just mentioned that you're out. Because there is enough and Maze, Google is enough in there to give you, and business will continue and you will be left out. You will not even know what is happening in the company today. If you think the corner room is yours, and that is why more and more new age companies have said open office, sitting without cabins, that is not because they're very egalitarian about it. They just miss out if they sit in the corner room. So let's understand the corner room is no more nice place to be in. The more you corner, more you get left out of the happening in the organization. Deeply listen, fuel solutions, which I just mentioned about agony aunt. You listen, because all problems, all challenges are either at your desk or the one to face it, pay for it. So listening is very important, and both verbal, non-verbal, action, numbers, reading, because today's world is all about analytics, data. But there is something which is, because we were non-data earlier, there's another very large data focus today. Fair enough. It's a very scalable, large, intensive activity. But something beyond that for a CFO, which as I said is Connect, is a non-data part of it. Ability to read and observe actions and predict, which is going beyond data. Data, I'm assuming all here in this room are completely familiar, doing day in, day out, we are data crunchers. Again, a very favorite statement of mine. which to my junior colleagues I used to say, good old days, in old Tamil movies, old any movie, you have an accountant, he'll be pan chewing, having his own dabba here, and he'd go behind his zamindar, and that's the accountant. Today we do the same thing, we just carry our laptop and go. Instead of pan chewing, we might have something else, but nevertheless, all our data is in our laptop, and everybody has got of it. And COVID has made everybody even more addicted to that. Now we don't even, if today we have to see a person, I'll have to see which height he is only from this side to this side. I don't know whether he's tall, thin, fat, because I have seen him for the last 2 years like this. So how do I connect with him now, after 2 years? Coaching, training, mentorship. There's a lot of interaction with the CFOs too, which is what I said my experience. Talking to people while they think they know, but still explaining to them. What is marginal costing? What is variance? How do I look at this variance? How do I compare this? This again in an earlier conversation somebody mentioned. Finance hasn't changed. Our debit has not become credit and credit has not become social society. Nothing has changed. We have same debit what comes in, credit what goes out, which you have learned in standard 11. We will still do it for till we are dead. Science has changed. IT is changing as we speak. If I learned Foxpro, COBOL, forget about it, they don't even exist. They're as good as abacus, so they have not gone in date. I studied all this. Now I can't say I know computers. My child will know computer, my grandchild will know computer more than me. But our learning has not changed, but our experience has made us much more to be able to contribute. Initiate small talks. This is, again, this was something I think he mentioned about trying to look for new talents. And this is something which I look for. People who can connect with people. Talk are the people who will get, because we are all tired of talking to machines, looking at computers. Facing even if we go home, we are again Netflix. So the whole point is the connect is people and CFOs. It's not anymore just a prerogative of HR. It is also the role of the CFO. So it is a people leader from a financial leader, build talent pool. He's already elaborated on that. Embrace roles outside of finance. If you are not a multitasker, again, we can't justify a salary. As simple as that. Because many organizations, CFOs do more than just the finance role. They are either in procurement, they are in quality in some form, in some activity more than they are just counting, which is, and many of them are even sales. For more than a decade of my life, I was in renting business, but I was also doing my finance. I was opening branches, meeting customers, starting product, lending two-wheeler loans in Jammu and Ludhiana and all of these places. If I didn't do that, I could not understand what my branch people are doing, and I will not be empathetic to them and understand their requirement to design and my community, not even design my product, even design my communication to them. I will not be able to communicate and make them understand what I'm trying to say if I do not understand from where they are coming from. Their day-to-day pressures are very different, their challenges are different. So if I do not do more than what I'm doing right now, I will not be effective. And obviously we as a fraternity, how do I put it very subtly? We love gossip. Which is like we have to know the numbers and who's doing what, who's doing better than us, which company is doing what financial reporting, what new ideas have come up, what type of annual report presentations are done. So we continuously, just like a CEO would do, a CFO is always keeping a tab on the competitors. That makes you better in your external communication because you know what the yardsticks are and your communication is better. This is some stolen statistics, be blunt, Dun & Bradstreet. I have credits here to McKinsey, KPMG, Dun & Bradstreet. So let me give the upfront credits to three agencies. this is the way forward. 2012 to 2022 and 2027, just the responsibility increase which is happening to a CFO. And where is a significant? Internal audit, regulatory and compliance is reducing, which is what I explained in the sense. Today, everybody is expected to do this. It is not, I think he mentioned it, you cannot, I think you mentioned it, you cannot risk if you do not manage it, you are not going to exist. So that is not an option today. It can't be an exclusive prerogative of the CFO. You cannot survive if you are not managing your risk or you don't understand your risk. So it has taken off the CFO's thing. It is just now an institutional behavior right now. And enterprise risk management, it is not just a prerogative of CFO, it is ERM. A good communicator will take the reader along with them and explain why they are showing this information, what's important about it, and what you should know about it. So this is very common in my day-to-day job. I explained to him, I told this to him, but he didn't listen, or he didn't do it as I said. I said, the problem is the person who's communicating or the person who's receiving the communication. I'm sure we would have done this in our early days. Always the problem is the person who's communicating. Till such time the person is completely received, your communication is not complete. So the painstaking communication is very, 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 very important to make the communication complete. Shares of roles in direct reporting relationship to CFO. See the new functions which are getting added to CFOs. Procurement, investor relationships, M&A, digital, enterprise transformation. So these are the new roles. McKinsey, let me be very honest, no plagiarism, credit to McKinsey. This is the change in role which we are seeing today. This is the statistic or survey which says, what do a CEO say, what does the CEO think about his CFO? What does the industry survey say? What is that we lack and what is that we need to improve upon? Lack of commercial experience. This is when they say commercial experience, what they mean is non-finance experience. Please don't bore with your ratios. Don't please bore with us with your variance analysis, the budget numbers. We also know, we also seen it. Tell us more than that. Tell us how do I change this? Give me a solution, don't tell me a problem. CFOs are, not CFOs, finance professionals as a whole. We are very good in stating a problem. The first one to come up with the problem. Today's CEO says, thanks for the problem. I have many people tell me this, and many CFOs appoint consultants to tell you this, over and above the CFO telling this. Because first the disclaimer with the consultant will tell you all these are the problems, because then the billing starts from there. Then we have to have a solution. Weak leadership skills. Moving from knowing the business than to doing the business. Being too narrowly focused. My agenda is 31st March. I should be the first company to finish my annual accounts. I will be the first one to first the budget. Narrow focus, priority, budget target, closing numbers, GST payment, that payment, this billing is not there, order did not place, 2 days later, the closing date you've submitted. All are problems, narrowly focused. How do I come with solutions? Lack of big picture vision. Weak interpersonal skills. Fortunately, that is not too much as a percentage. What does it mean to us? Expressing the story of numbers to non-finance. That's a very interesting, I love that. I always talk about numbers should speak to you. When numbers you should engage with numbers. Now when you look at the numbers, and not that I'm saying you should do a PowerPoint presentation, not the graph, color, picture and all that. That is not speaking to you. And that's not the way going forward either. But the numbers, the meaning of the numbers should speak to you. And the CFO role is to make, well, they all believe they are, but actually make them a CFO. The day you can retire or day you can walk out, think very confident the system is in place, the organization is running, is the day you've done a job. When I say merge in economics across verticals, invariably in organization, there's one department does well, the other one is pulling not the best of the times. So you always have an handicap in the system. So it's the CFO role to figure out who's going to be the laggard this year. It could be in people issues, that could be a lot of attrition, it could be in terms of cost of borrowing, the way it currently is, the funding cost, capital. It could be the procurement, like the semiconductor issues are there. It could be in laws, labor laws. It could be GST, the way new changes have happened. So we have to anticipate, prepare, or even react quickly for any contingency and be able to measure up. The big picture. This is a very interesting. CFO is one challenge is the limited resources and making everybody happy. Every department wants the maximum budget for the year. Every department. Tell me which budget meeting you go and which department says, I don't need the budget this year. Every department wants the best allocation, everybody wants more leeway, and here you have only finite amount and there's an infinite demand. And CEO is a good cop, bad cop, you are the bad cop, and the CEO is a good cop. Because he has a lot of other discussions, he or she has got a lot of other discussions to happen, and you are a very focused target. So this budget allocation, resource allocation, a resource could not just be money, it could be office space, it could be in terms of people allocation, in terms of investment in digital technology, anything. And then, interesting, the last bit. After doing all this, you have to go and talk to the outside world and explain all this in a very interesting way as if you're doing it for the first time. You've been doing this day in and day out, and you want to make an interesting story to the public shareholder or a private equity investor or a partner, whoever it is. You have to have a very, very important skill, which is called storytelling skills. Not a fiction, fact, but to be told in a very narrative way where the investor is engaged. I'm sure many CFOs can become film directors. We do all the direction, right? So we could actually become a director. It's a storytelling of the business. What makes that person, what ticks, what does it interest them? Is it the growth? Is it the profitability? Is it the technology? Is it the sustainability? Is it the people management? You have to figure out what makes that person interested in the story. You can't tell the same story, same again and again till the person is dead. So, whole of this, you have a very clear ringside view and you are the best player to do the storytelling. Many, many large organizations, CFOs are IR heads as well, investor relationship heads, because they exactly know, not only know what has happened, to a far extent they can know what will happen. So they are, without giving you forward numbers, they can give you a forward view. Because it is a finance CFO who know exactly what a future is going to look like, at least the immediate future or the long term. A good communications positive impact on the teams. I think it's very, very obvious. They work better, they're valued, cost, yes. Driving innovation, brand value, all of it. And the last bit, a 360-degree CFO. Envisioning business growth, providing holistic view to CEO, understanding the role of technology. This is where I see rating. be able to dream the business growth and provide for it along with the CEO, not 2 steps behind. If possible, 1 step ahead, which is what we talk about resource management. You can't say, get the order, I will get the material. But you have to anticipate, manufacture, sell, manufacture, sell, manufacture, sell, and you need to plan the resources with a level of anticipation both sides. So you need to know what your sales can do, which season, which month, which sales will happen. You should know which time the manufacturing will be down, the material will not be available. You need to factor all of this and make sure there are no gaps in between. And obviously India is, I think the entire audience here is international in terms of their footprint, in terms of business. And so a very important space is being a global perspective. Look for leadership opportunities, team building skills, transformation initiatives, major change programs. I always believe CFO is not alone. Cannot be a finance CFO does 90% of do everything other than CFO role and do 10% of CFO role, which is like 3 days before the quarter board meeting. I'm saying this because almost 15, 16, 18, I don't know, being a listed company CFO. And the number of quarterly analyst call which I've handled, I've forgotten about it and I don't want to look at it again. So it is that rigor which will just become a habit for you. So there's a role beyond that. Be a strategic partner to CEO. Simple. It's a co-CEO. Isn't it nice? I don't see anybody agreeing with me. Do you agree? Okay, nice. Confidently undertake strategic decisions along with CEO. Confidence. But I am coming back to the first point which I said, risk is a matter of, and not an option. Focus on process, and I think he mentioned very right. Compliant is not an option. Not being non-compliant is not an option. Focus on process, risk minimization. I'm just making it slightly different. I can't say risk zero. No, zero risk is not. We have to be in a hermit, we have to be a sadhus. So risk minimization is very important, managing risk. What in our business is survival risk. I do not want to be insolvent, but that doesn't mean that I will not take risk. Always direct initiatives within and outside organization and play catalytic role to drive profitable growth. It is a very interesting role. You make it happen and make it all happen behind the scenes. Give the credit to the leader on the top and to the team below. This is an important role of a CFO today. The credit is to the leader on the top, the board, and to the team which manage it, which is every function in the organization. This is last, Peter Drucker. I'm sure all of us have read his book enough and must have quoted it in several of our conferences. So Peter Drucker is something I value. Maybe got a lot of marks using his quotes. Success always makes obsolete the very behavior that achieved it. So you have to keep evolving. It always creates new realities. It always creates above all its own and different problems. Only the fairy tale ends, they lived happily ever after. Nothing happily ever after. It is today, you're here, tomorrow there's one more challenge. The CFO role just continues, goes on and on and goes on and on. It's a very interesting, my 30 plus years has been very interesting, and in the time given, I think have tried to convey something of, and the topic given, I've tried to convey what I have gone through in my journey as a CFO. I don't think I can ask any questions. I think that they have any questions. Right, do you have any? Do I have to? No, good. Then I've communicated well. I take that as that I have communicated well, not that you have not understood it. Either way it could be, but I take this way.